Hey guys, it's Mohammad Halloum. I'm making a little video to discuss a key figure in the security clearance compensation theft uh, and that I've been dealing with. And this woman's name is Viola Ul-Haq. That's what she told me her name was. She's the wife of Saif Ul-Haq. Um, she, when I first visited Saif Ul-Haq, his gate only opened halfway to his neighborhood complex, the one with mansions, the one down in Awatuki. So I had to, keep my car parked and then go through the gate and uh, knock on the first house's door on the right of the gate. And Viola answered the door, and I said, "Hey, the gate won't open. Is there something you can do to help?" And she said, "Oh, yeah, 1 second." And she went inside and pressed her little garage key and opened the neighborhood gate. And so, she was the first house on the right. She answered the door. And so I drove through with my car all the way to, the top of the street where Saif Ul-Haq's home was, where we hung out or whatever. I helped him fix his car. And so that was a long time ago, back when I thought Saif Ul-Haq's name was Safir Haq. Um, and she didn't inform me that she was his wife. I guess they were doing some sort of like test, like they made sure the gate didn't open. They made sure that I went and talked to her, and they wanted to see how it would react to her. And she's a good-looking person, but I was not told that she was his wife at the time, right? And so, I went and I went up the street after I got through the gate, and I parked, and I said, "Oh yeah, I talked to a pretty girl at the first house, blah blah blah." She let me in, and Saif tried to not act super obvious about it, but one of the reasons it sticks out to me as memories because it was just a really weird situation. I mean, when do you open a gate and have it close back on you? So it seems like they were doing that on purpose as some sort of, oh, meet my wife without actually meeting my wife because I need to keep my identity secret, our identity secret, because we're going to try to rob you of your security clearance compensation down the road. And so that's the first time I met Saif Ul-Haq's wife, and that was several years ago. Um, maybe, let's see, I would estimate that that happened the year of 2018. Um, and so, anyways, I was going through my security clearance compensation after I left the military. I'm still going through my security clearance, is what I meant to say. After I left the military, I'm working different jobs and traveling the country to avoid Saif Ul-Haq, who is following me around, harassing me, buying the companies where I'm employed just to go ahead and fire me. Um, he hires the people from my former military squadron to go ahead and fire me as well. And so that's how that goes. Anyways, so yeah, Viola comes back into the picture, not knowing that I recognized her visually, and not knowing that I didn't know that she's Saif's wife. Um, she, assuming that I didn't remember her in the first place, is how I should put it. I mean, she didn't care to even consider whether or not I figured that she might be Saif Ul-Haq's wife. And so she comes along somewhere along my security clearance process while I'm working in Eagle, Idaho, and she decides to try to be my girlfriend. And the way she goes about that is while I'm in the nighttime in my RV when I go to sleep, she would show up and go ahead and pretend to, after she anesthetized me, she would go ahead and conduct her little rape. And that's one thing she would do, and she would tell me about it the next day. She's like, "Oh, me and you did this and that." And it's like, "Well, I don't remember any of that." She said, "Yeah, because I anesthetized you, and I'm a nurse, so technically I'm allowed to do that to you." And I basically begged and pleaded for her to not touch me. Like, I was not cool with the rape. I didn't care if she was pretty. I didn't care if I was physically attracted to her. Um, and it felt kind of weird being that, like, I kind of knew where on the planet she already came from, and she like resurfaced in my life. I was like, she must be associated with Saif Ul-Haq. That guy's giving my life hell. I don't want anything to do with her. And so I repeatedly would message her and tell her, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone, don't touch me, please don't rape me, blah, blah, blah. I stopped taking showers. I would stop brushing before I went to sleep anyways. I would shower in the morning. Usually I like to shower before I get in my bed. And then I would usually like to brush my teeth before I go to bed too, but I had to make it really gross for her to be involved with me. And she admitted to me that she's a sex nympho. I mean, she's a nymphomaniac. Like, she really enjoys having sex, and that's like a huge part of her life. And I mean, I'm 27. She told me she was 28. Um, maybe she's 29 these days. I don't know. I don't care. But point is, she's a couple years older than me. And the point is, we're young and we're in our prime. It's good to have a healthy libido, right? And the way she takes care of it is she goes around town and she performs oral sex on like all sorts of people, including random strangers. And she let me know that she's on a straight semen diet. And like, not only did I already not want her sleeping with me, but I don't want somebody that kind of literally sleeps around so much to the extent that they are on a straight semen diet to sleep with me. And because that's kind of gross. Like, at that point, you're like, are you really like cautious? Like, you can't take that many STD tests within that period of time and be certain. And so it's just like, I did not want anything to do with her. And so I repeatedly told her that. I begged and pleaded. I said, please, like, you're raping me. This is not cool. And it wouldn't work. And as a matter of fact, her and Saiaf Abdallah would punish me for doing that. They started firing me from jobs immediately. They would put nails in my tires. And it's like, I'm not a rich person. I can't just go buy a new tire every day. I can't just repair a gas line that they cut on my car every day. I can't just get a job super duper easily. Like, obviously it takes a couple weeks for that process to go through. And so they were leveraging the fact that they were billionaires against me, right? They were leveraging their finances to try to force a relationship. And Saif Ul-Haq was definitely involved because, as I'd find out much later on down the road, she's actually his wife, right? They have an open relationship. They're sexually deviant in all sorts of other strange ways. Like, she admitted that she would put a ginormous dildo in her butt. She admitted that she's able to like prolapse her butt intentionally. And here's how that information came out. After I realized that she wouldn't stop cutting my finger with razor blades, she wouldn't stop scratching my face, and she wouldn't stop, injuring me sexually as well. Um, After I realized that that wouldn't stop, I decided, okay, clearly I have no choice but to pretend that I'm into it and I definitely want her and blah, blah, blah. And maybe the damages will stop and maybe she'll just stick to normal sexual relations. And so I had to make fake playlists on my phone. I have to be like, oh, I don't want to just eat your private. I want to nine them, just like a play on words instead of eight, nine. And so I had to do all this bullshit, and I literally just copied playlists that I had before. I mean, um, and I kind of already had that lesson down. Some of these ladies cannot be trusted while I'm in the security clearance process. Some of them are already only interested in the compensation that was to come later. And I learned that after I briefly, I wasn't even dating, I was seeing Lilia Bernanke, right? Like, I was in communication with Lilia Bernanke, and she couldn't contain herself, and she was like having sex with other people. But the reason I had to break things off with her, long story short, is she was saying, "Oh, you're my one and only. You're my everything. I want us to die together and be buried next to each other." And meanwhile, she can't even handle the fact that I'm on a pseudo deployment. Like, I'm out of state. She can't handle it, and she's like sleeping around. And so I had to break things off with her. Funny tie-in. Not only was Lilia Bernanke the first lesson I learned about women hoeing around just to steal your security clearance compensation by claiming they were in a relationship with you, and they bore some of the burden of dealing with the stress, and therefore they're entitled to a portion of the compensation. That's what she intended to do. Beyond that, she also intended to marry me and take half. But so not only was Lilia Bernanke my first lesson with that, but she also was very good friends with Viola Ul-Haq. And that's one of the reasons why she involved herself in my life, is because she works within the same numbered Air Force that Viola Ul-Haq and Saif Ul-Haq worked in. And they call it a bomber squadron or whatever, but to be honest, when you're being trained up for your Yankee White security clearance, they don't like to tell you much, and so they told me that it was a communication squadron. I worked on a bunch of fake systems, quote unquote communication systems, and Lilia Bernanke was showing me how bullshit the systems were like that early on in her officer disguise, and so that just goes to show you how much of a monopoly they have on the process. Like, not only are they trying to rob you afterwards, they actually also run the process itself, and they're gleaning as much information about you as they can in order to rob you, including bugging your communication systems, cell phone, laptop, etc. I had some room break-ins while I was on the Air Force Base as well, which is kind of unheard of considering how tight security is over there. A lot of people had to be in on it. And so point is, let me get back to where I was. So Viola Ul-Haq, I had to go ahead and pretend to be very interested in her and stuff, because the literal physical torture and the psychological torture and them sabotaging every aspect of my life wouldn't stop. And I was like, well, if I pretend I'm on their team and I also want them to have everything that I have at the end of this process, maybe they'll leave me alone, and maybe like I'll stop literally getting like my finger cut open with razor blades and my face scratched. And so, I had to pretend to be interested in Viola Ul-Haq. I just copied some of the playlists I made for Lilia Bernanke, and I copied those over, and Viola was just like swooning. And it's like if you were married to somebody as retarded as Saif Ul-Haq, and I don't mean that insultingly, I mean like clinically retarded, like he can't take care of himself. She told me that it's like living with just another child, and she's like making children with him, but she feels like he's just another child. And I lived with the guy, so I totally get it. He doesn't clean up after himself. He gets frustrated when you remind him that other people live with him, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, I had to play along and play on with the relationship that she was forcing on me. Her father is some sort of general or something, and so he was like laying on the weight. When I went to a hospital to take care of a skin infection that I had, I have a skin condition. When I went to a hospital to take care of a skin infection that I had, her father showed up to that hospital and was like corralling me into a corner of the hospital while wearing a doctor's gown, and he would not let me leave to my car. And later on, when I left to my car, I found my car broken into. And so that's the kind of people she hails from, right? Like her father's a general, and he's also in on the scam of trying to rob me of my security clearance compensation. Her boss is Saiaf Abdallah, some sort of 2 or 3-star general of sorts. And her husband is Saif Ul-Haq, some sort of 1 or 2-star general of sorts. She calls herself an admiral. I don't have enough verification as much as I do with Saif Ul-Haq and Saiaf Abdallah about them being high-ranking individuals who are experts at basically embezzling money out of the Navy that they're a part of. And so yeah, where was I? Yeah, so I had to play along about a relationship with her, and eventually I just about had enough. I mean, I was like, why am I, I don't need to play as if I'm in a relationship with her. I'm tired of her shit. She started giving me more and more information about herself. Her mother forced herself into a hospital that I was interned at without my permission. Like, she was like, and so I had to play friendly with her as well. This was over at CBI, where Mohammad Hassan, Saiaf Abdallah, Ahmed Abdallah, Mohammad Mustafa, Hassan Mustafa, all of those folks that work in the same numbered Air Force, all of those folks tried to ambush me over there as well. And so, um, and Viola's mother was there too, and she was acting all lovey-dovey. She's like, "Oh, my daughter like really likes you," and she had tears in her eyes. And so it wasn't acting, dude. It wasn't acting. Like, they really wanted me to replace Saif Ul-Haq at one point. Um, and what I realized later is like, no, it was acting. The reason her mother was so emotional is because Viola and Saif Ul-Haq were losing everything to me. There's some sort of shadow court process while you're getting your security clearance compensation, and Viola and Saif Ul-Haq were losing a lot of their assets to me. Basically, after I reported Saif Ul-Haq to the courts and I said, I need a restraining order, this guy's pointing loaded firearms at me and trying to force me to give him my security clearance compensation. He's trying to put me under a conservatorship. After I went to the courts with that, apparently the security clearance shadow court took a lot of his assets as some sort of restitution, and one of those including their home. And they don't like that the home was taken by the courts as some sort of restitution because that whole neighborhood was built for them and their friends. I mean, you could kind of take notice by the memory of the fact that Viola Ul-Haq was at the first house on the right upon entering the neighborhood. And so this is all by design. I mean, they're trying to keep their billionaire community tight knit, their Arizona Cultural Academy community, and understandably so. You'd be frustrated if you were losing that home, but this is the links that they went to try to scam their home back, to try to rob me of the home that was given to me as some sort of restitution, which, by the way, I do not have a handle of right now. But yeah, that's the links they went to. They were using military weapon systems. She was dragging her father into it. She's dragging Saiaf Abdallah into it. They all feel like Saif Ul-Haq was wronged because he tried to fuck you over and you didn't get fucked over. Therefore, you wronged Saif Ul-Haq. And that's how they feel about it. And so to this day, I put up a defense. I keep away from her. I stay away from her. And she just says, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to sue you because you definitely fell in love with me. And there was definitely a relationship. It's like, oh, honey, Saiaf Abdullah was using like this snake weapon system, like this secret camera spy snake that operates on a hydraulic system and like squeezes through door cracks and stuff to poke around my butt and my genitals if I didn't pretend to like act all lovey-dovey with you, like sweetheart. They would put nails in my tires if I didn't play along, and then and like she would come into my car after anesthetizing me and feeding herself off of my semen because those are her meals apparently. After she did all that, she would like rip my face masks open. She would steal spoons as like keepsakes, and it's like I'm living in an RV. It's not like I have like a drawer full of spoons like I would in a normal home or an apartment or like in a dorm that I have right now. It's not like I have a spoon drawer. But she was like stealing things as keepsakes and doing all sorts of messed up shit. And so it got really annoying. It got really tiring dealing with her, and it got really tiring pretending that she wasn't involved with Saif Ul-Haq. And these people are billionaires, and so they bribe the courts, they bribe everything. I'm sure they tried to cover up their marriage somehow so that she could falsify another marriage. Maybe they did a little fake divorce sort of thing. I don't know. But, that's the story of Viola Ul-Haq, and these days she resurfaces just to try to gain pity. The other day, I was visiting a couple of guys that work with FedEx. They told me that they were with the intelligence community, and they live right next to the downtown Flagstaff um, soup kitchen slash homeless shelter. There's one of those in downtown Flagstaff. They live just east of it in one of those little homes. And they told me that she was having like threesomes with them and sucking them off all the time, and they would pay her money. And so Viola's like, stop telling people I'm a prostitute. And it's like, honey, I'm not saying that as an insulting thing. I'm trying to describe to people the kind of individual I was dealing with. I mean, people pay you for sex. You hoe yourself around town. You're the kind of person that Saif Ul-Haq could land. I mean, you're just messed up enough to where a normal person wouldn't want to date you, but somebody special needs like Saif Ul-Haq could probably land you. You're good looking, you guys are wealthy, good for you guys, but I want nothing to do with you. Obviously, especially because you're trying to rob me, right? And um, and so yeah, it's crazy that I even have to say these kinds of things. It's crazy that I have to document something that bizarre and wacko and fucked up. But they're trying so hard to leverage this idea that I am personally involved with her, and I've been personally interested in having her in my life, and I genuinely was dating her when in reality I was under extreme duress. I mean, these people were threatening my life, they were destroying my livelihood, they were ruining my vehicle, and even when I did play along, if I didn't play along hard enough, or if I did something wrong, like I would pretend I was too tired to shower every night, right? I was too tired to brush my teeth. But in reality, I was just like so sick and tired of the nightly rape that I would just have to like sit there and think really hard. Like, am I gonna go through with the shower to play along really hard? Or should I not shower and hopefully she just doesn't touch me? Because some nights she would admit, oh, we only cuddled, I didn't, you smelled too bad, you know? And so it became like a nice, convenient way. It's like, I'll just shower in the morning and wash my bed sheets like 3 times as often, right? It became a nice way to keep her off of my physical body, to keep her from the rape. Um, and so, yeah, this is kind of a bizarre and wacko point of describing Viola Ul-Haq and the involvement she had in robbing me of my security clearance compensation. And later on, down the road, she let me know that she and Lilia Bernanke are like best buddies, and they go around town and they feed with each other, right? Like they take care of men's needs and they feed with each other. And so Lilia Bernanke not only was already trying to rob me of my security clearance and fake a relationship, which she was barely able to, keep that little, she couldn't keep that lie up before she got like seduced by her little meals around town. Um, not only were they up to that, but she also, yeah, not only are they best friends, but and not only was Lilia already trying to rob me, but Lilia was like begging and crying about the home. Like she's like, oh, I really want that house in particular, I really want it. And there's supposed to be billions of dollars on the way. Like who cares about a $1 million house? But the reason Lilia Bernanke wanted that house really, really bad is because she wanted to win it back for her best friend, Viola Ul-Haq. Um, how very sweet of her, right? I'm trying to rob somebody who's getting compensation for all the awful things we did to him, up to and including rape and attempted murder. And uh, one of the pieces of restitution I'm trying to give back to my friend who was also involved in that kind of a scandal. And so, how very sweet of Lilia Bernanke. These days, I hear she's back with her original suitor and original husband, Ben, who's already dating her for so long and already her fiance for so long, and they're getting married soon. And they were both in on trying to pretend that, you know, uh, they weren't dating so that maybe she could try to seduce me and win a zillion bucks for them, which is, interesting, kind of fucking gross. I don't know. Make of it what you will. I'm just kind of describing the kind of folks I deal with at the 12th Air Force, 612th ACOMS, and they call themselves a bomber unit because it's basically a spy unit, right? It's the CIA, Secret Service trains there too. You get Yankee white security clearances, kind of a big deal. But a bunch of these people are making it look like garbage and squandering it just because they want to steal other people's security clearance compensation.